When it comes to cybersecurity, you might think the strongest defense is just having the thickest wall. But what if it's actually about knowing exactly where you're weakest? We're going to dive into a story about how a mandatory fitness test for government agencies in Taiwan uncovered a really critical flaw in their thinking. And honestly, it offers a powerful lesson for pretty much any organization trying to stay safe out there. All right, so to really get what Taiwan did, you first have to understand the sheer intensity of the problem they're facing. We're talking about one of the most challenging cybersecurity environments in the entire world. I mean, this isn't about some random hackers. It's a constant, sophisticated, and absolutely relentless barrage of digital threats. So they're getting hit from all sides, right? Think of it like four major battlefronts. You've got persistent state-sponsored hacking that's going after their government and military. Then there's aggressive intellectual property theft, trying to steal secrets from their world-class tech industry. Add to that direct attacks on critical stuff like power grids and transportation. And kind of wrapping it all together, disinformation campaigns designed to just stir up chaos. It's a full-on digital assault. So, how do you even begin to defend against all that? Well, back in 2020, Taiwan's government rolled out a pretty brilliant solution, a standardized, mandatory test to measure the cyber strength of every single department. You can think of it like a national fitness test, but instead of push-ups, it's for digital resilience. Okay, so the whole thing is built on this idea called a cybersecurity maturity model. And really, the concept behind it is super simple. A maturity model is basically a ruler. Yeah, a ruler for security. It's a framework that lets you measure your security practices against the standard scale, showing you exactly where you are and, more importantly, what you need to do to get better. So this is Taiwan's version of that ruler, the Cybersecurity Governance Maturity Assessment, or CSGMA for short. And there's the kicker. It's not optional. Every single government agency has to go through it. This creates this unified standard, making sure everybody is hitting at least a minimum level of defense. The CSGMA itself kind of boils down to three core pillars. First up is strategy. Do you have the right policies? Is leadership involved? Are the resources there? Second is management. How well are you controlling your digital assets, training your people, and keeping an eye on your vendors? And third is technical. The real nuts and bolts. Access control, how you respond to an incident, and just your day-to-day operations. Now, inside this whole system, there's one number everyone is shooting for: level 3. Reaching what they call established status means your organization has standardized, written down procedures for security, and, this is the important part, you're actually following them. It's the baseline goal for everyone. Okay, theory is great, but let's see how this all plays out in the real world. We're going to look at a case study of one organization, we'll just call them Police Department X. They went through the whole assessment, and even though they passed, they ran into a really unexpected problem. And I mean, this was no walk in the park. The evaluation was incredibly thorough, testing them on 11 of those core processes we just talked about. And those were judged against 46 specific security checklists. This was not a simple pass-fail test. It was a deep, rigorous audit of their entire security setup. So, after all that, Department X passed. They did it. They hit that target maturity level 3. Their procedures were standardized, they were implemented, but here's the twist. Their success actually created a brand new problem. They hit a wall, a plateau. While they were solid at level 3, they were just completely stuck. They couldn't figure out how to make that jump to level 4, which is all about being more predictive and managing security with real data. They were good, but they had no clear path to becoming great. So what went wrong? This, right here, is the key insight of this entire story. To break through that wall, Department X had to make a fundamental shift in their mindset, from just checking boxes to building a real strategy. This quote from the case study just nails it. Their focus was entirely on compliance, on passing the test. They were so busy making sure they followed every single rule on the checklist that they kind of lost sight of the bigger picture. They were compliant, sure, but that didn't necessarily mean they were secure. So the solution was to add a new layer of thinking. It's called the PCR framework, which stands for process, capability, and, this is the most important part, risk-oriented management. It adds a critical question on top of that compliance checklist. Okay, of all these rules, which ones matter the most for the specific threats we face? And this just lays out that shift perfectly. The old checklist mindset just asks, are we following all the rules? But the new strategic mindset asks a much, much smarter question. Are we mitigating our biggest risks first? You're moving from blind compliance to intelligent prioritization.
All right, so once they had this new risk-oriented mindset, everything changed. For the first time, they could actually see a clear path forward. They could build a real roadmap that didn't just try to do everything at once, but instead focused on the most critical improvements first.
And here's what that roadmap looked like. It was broken into 3 logical cycles. In cycle 1, they tackled the foundational stuff, the biggest gaps, like asset and vendor management. In cycle 2, they moved on to strengthening the core, things like resources and training. And only then, in cycle 3, did they move to mastering advanced defense, like incident response. It was a step-by-step plan that put their energy where it would have the biggest impact. Let's make this super concrete with an example. Take vendor management. At level 3, the compliance level, success just meant having a procedure written down somewhere, a checkbox item. But to get to level 4, the risk-oriented level, the goal totally changed. It became about measuring vendor performance, doing annual audits, and hitting a real hard metric, like a 90% pass rate. See the difference? The process went from being a static document to a living, performance-driven function. And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? It reveals a fundamental truth. Effective cybersecurity isn't about passing a one-time test. It's not some final destination you arrive at. It's a continuous journey of improvement, of adaptation, and of making smart investments based on the real risks you're facing today. So, that leaves us with a big question for you to think about. Look at your own organization's approach to security. Are you just checking boxes to pass a test? Or are you actually building true, measurable resilience against the threats that matter most?